Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show. And if you are new here, on Fridays we do things a little bit differently. On Fridays I try to knock out more viewer-requested stories from this week. Also include stories that I wanted to get to, but we ended up either having to cut for time or never filming because of time. So with that said, let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, let's start with a viewer-requested story from this week. We had Katy Perry in the news for two reasons. The first, I really won't get into, but it involves a dead nun. Also, after hearing the way the words came out of my mouth like that, it feels like I should add to that story, but for me it's just gonna be fun to not. But the second reason that Katy Perry was in the news this week had to do with a stolen kiss. Earlier this week, there was an episode of American Idol where there was an audition for Benjamin Glaze. He's a 19-year-old cashier from Oklahoma, and of course, because it's a reality show about singing, you can't just be good at singing. You have to have a random or interesting thing to get any airtime, and his was that he has never kissed a girl. He says, I can't kiss a girl without being in a relationship. They get him to come over. He seems to kind of protest it, but then they get him to kiss Katy Perry on the cheek. She then kind of eggs him on, hey, the way you did it, you didn't even get a smush sound. He then leans in to kiss her cheek again, and Katy Perry turns her head, kisses him right on the lips. Glaze falls down, she throws up her arms in triumph. He then sings a song, he gets 3 no's, and he gets kicked off the show. But then, on Wednesday, a New York Times article comes out about the kiss. They do an interview with Glaze, and he says, I was a tad bit uncomfortable. I wanted to save it for my relationship. I wanted it to be special. Would I have done it if she said, would you kiss me? No, I would have said no. I know a lot of guys would be like, heck yeah, but for me, I was raised in a conservative family, and I was uncomfortable immediately. I wanted my first kiss to be special. But also then adding, after talking with friends, he doesn't think it really counts, saying they agreed with me that it doesn't really count. It was lip contact versus a romantic situation with someone you care about. That's what a real first kiss is. Then also adding that he doesn't feel like what happened was sexual harassment. That said, there were others that had a massive problem with it. Some examples of the outrage. It was a forced sexual act. Imagine if this was from a male judge. Has Katy Perry not taken anything from the Me Too movement? What if he didn't want that kiss for religious reasons? What if Luke Bryan forced kissed a 19-year-old girl? Would that be okay? Creepy for Perry to do that. American Idol, shame on you for your take on this. He was there to sing, not to get a kiss from someone who has kissed how many lips? His first kiss was supposed to be special, now it has been destroyed. Katy Perry needs to keep her body parts to herself. And in fact, it had gotten so much attention, Glaze went to his Instagram to respond, saying the way certain articles are worded is not done by me, and my true intentions are not accurately represented in every article you read about the situation. I am not complaining about the kiss. I am very honored and thankful to have been a part of American Idol. I do not think I was sexually harassed by Katy Perry, and I am thankful for the judges' comments and critiques. I was uncomfortable in a sense of how I have never been kissed before and was not expecting. But all of that said, I do think that it brings up an interesting question of if certain things in this story had changed, would the public reaction be different? And I'll give you some modifiers. Some things can stay the same. Let's say the ages 33 and 19. Those are the same. So would there have been a different reaction if there was someone that was less attractive than Katy Perry? Then flip it. What if it was a 33-year-old male artist who was attractive, and then a not so attractive 33-year-old male artist? Or then we just flip genders. You have an attractive male 33-year-old artist and a 19-year-old girl, and then an unattractive 33-year-old male artist and a 19-year-old girl. Would the public reaction be different? Also, you can throw in, should the public reaction be different? I know there's some debate there. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Then really quick, I wanted to do an update and correction from this Monday show. In the Monday show, we covered a story about Twitter accounts being suspended, and I wanted to take a second to address 2 issues with that story. For one, some reason this girl's photo was showed in relation to a Twitter account that I was talking about, Common White Girl. It turns out she's an Imgur user who has had or has an account of that same name. And 2, this girl's photo was also used by mistake for being linked to the Twitter account So Damn True. And I found out about these mistakes last night after both of these girls reached out to our community. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to apologize and then also give an explanation how this mistake happened so that people can also understand. With that, I do want to say, one, up front, this mistake ultimately falls on me. Anything that happens on the PDS, anything that happens at the company, it falls on me. Understand that me trying to give an explanation is not me trying to make an excuse and just push it off. I am personally in line of defense to stop a mistake. I have put all the people that work on the show in their positions. I help create the workflow. 2, the situation around the Monday show was a mixture of uncommon situations. My fantastic main editor was out sick. The backup editor on staff that I normally use, his hand and arm are injured. So we then made a workflow where he and the newest editor would split between cutting and graphics. That newer editor working on graphics did not get assets from the researcher that was working on that story. They then did a blind, not specific enough Google search without knowing the background of that story, then getting the wrong graphic. Because these editors weren't used to our regular workflow, they didn't send me an early review copy of the cut so that I and the research team could review. Afterwards, there was a second and final review, but I wasn't there because I hopped out early to be on the H3 podcast. Something I would never do, but I was surprising Chris Betancourt, who you possibly know from One List, One Life. If you don't know his story, he was diagnosed with leukemia. His buddy Dylan decided to drop everything he was doing and help him fulfill his bucket list. Meaning me, he was number 41 on that list, so I went to surprise him.
It's Philip DeFranco. Oh, Shredder's barking. Hey, come on in.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Can I hug you?
So here,
That's Philly D.
Once again, please understand, I'm not saying this as an excuse. I'm trying to explain why this weird situation happened. But I also did feel comfortable doing this because I figured worst case scenario, the researcher who worked specifically on just that story would help catch any mistakes. They unfortunately did not, which also for me personally raises some questions. That said, I do not go into the specifics of when it deals with employees and their job, but understand that it is being taken care of right now. But ultimately where I want to end this little section is hopefully by me explaining this, you understand the current fail-safes, how it failed, and also know that I'm going to be adding other layers just in case. And two, as I've said in the past, I will always aim for perfection, knowing that at times we will fall short, but always understand and trust that I will call myself out on it. It would be a lot easier to just not address this, a few thousand people talking about it, but then it goes away, than to address it to the full million-plus audience. And I'm not saying that because I want some fucking pat on the back for not being a disgusting, stupid person. I'm saying that because that's the way more places should be and how I run my show. That said, let's get back into the news. Then, for some reason, with all this stuff happening in the world, people want me to talk about Donald Trump Jr. reportedly getting divorced. Vanessa Trump, who married Jr. back in 2005, reportedly filed for divorce. There's not really much to add there. Literally the only reason I'm giving it any time whatsoever is it is part of my favorite headline this week. Business Insider reporting, Donald Trump Jr.'s wife Vanessa once called Trump retarded. And then I guess they were worried they were still offending someone. So the title on their site reads, Donald Trump Jr.'s wife once called the president the R word after he introduced them twice in one night. But the thing is, this is about 12-year-old news. The quote is from a 2006 New York Times article. But Vanessa tells a story about how Donald Trump introduced her to Donald Trump Jr. twice, then saying nothing happened. Later, she and Jr. meet separately, saying they talked for an hour, and then suddenly something clicked. Wait, you were at that fashion show. Wait, you're the one with the retarded dad, Vanessa blurted out. And because there's really nothing meaningful to me in this story, the question I have for it, Business Insider making a title change made me wonder, what is your opinion on the R word? And give me the range. Are you on the never say it ever, no, it's completely fine? Also, where on the list is, as a news publication, you can't even put it in quotes. I'd love to know your opinion. And then let's talk about Mona Lisa Perez. And the reason Mona Lisa's name might sound familiar to you is we've talked about her in the past. She is the YouTuber who killed her boyfriend trying to make a YouTube video. Her boyfriend, Pedro Ruiz III, held an encyclopedia in front of him. And Perez, who is reportedly just 1 foot away, held a .50 caliber Desert Eagle and fired it at the book. And unsurprisingly to pretty much everyone else, but surprisingly to Mona Lisa, she ended up actually shooting her boyfriend and then killing him. Reportedly telling 911, we were doing a YouTube video and it went wrong. It's all on recording. And it was on recording. In fact, there were 2 cameras. Also reportedly there was their very young child. And the big update to this story after all of this time is that Mona Lisa has now been sentenced. Back in December, she pled guilty to second-degree manslaughter, and as part of the plea, she will have to serve a 180-day jail term. For the first 6 months, alternating between 10 days in jail, 10 days out of jail. So that'll equate to 90 days, and then the other 90 days will be limited to home confinement. Additionally, she'll be on supervised probation for 10 years, be banned for life from owning firearms, and make no financial gain from the case. I personally don't know how to feel about it. Obviously, it was an accident. What I end up wondering is, did she get 10 days in, 10 days out of jail because they wanted her to still be the primary caretaker of her children? It seems like that was taken into consideration with her sentencing. Is that why this was done? Because personally, that makes me worry about the children. I don't know. I'll pass the question off to you. I mean, do you think that this is the right kind of punishment? There should have been no punishment, or should have been harsher? Let me know in those comments down below. And then let's talk about the update around Brianna Brochu. Her name and face might seem familiar because we talked about her a while back in the Jazzy Rose story, a story that came from the University of Hartford. Rose said she and her roommate didn't get along. Rose found herself getting sick. She had chronic throat pain. She couldn't go to sleep. She was having trouble with her roommate, and eventually she just decided to move. It was just a really bad situation. And then she finds out that Brianna, her roommate, was bragging about this, saying, finally did it, your girl got rid of her roommate after 1.5 months of spitting in her coconut oil, putting moldy clam dip in her lotions, rubbing used tampons on her backpack, putting her toothbrush places where the sun don't shine, and so much more. I can finally say goodbye, Jamaican Barbie. So this story blew up. There was an outpouring of support for Roe, a massive amount of hate for both the school and for Brianna. The university ends up handing the case over to local authorities, and there Brochu admitted to licking Rose's silverware and smearing her bodily fluids on the backpack, but denied tampering with lotions and cosmetics, saying it was a lie to, quote, appear funny. And where we left off is, as a result of this, she was charged with second-degree breach of peace and third-degree criminal mischief. Both of those crimes, Class B misdemeanors that carry a maximum of 6 months in prison and a fine. And during all this, Brochu also got expelled. She lost a 4-year, $20,000 scholarship. She also lost her job. And if you wanted the law to come down on her, you were gonna be angry. Brianna was granted a special type of probation that allows her to avoid a criminal record. This includes 200 hours of community service, 50 of which will be at a literacy organization in the greater Hartford area. Another 50 will be at a social services group. And if Brochu stays out of trouble, she completes the community service, the charges will be dismissed after 2 years. Also, a thing of note here is the state declined to file a hate crime charge against Brochu. Police had sought to include a charge of intimidation based on bigotry or bias. But reportedly, after looking at eyewitness statements, interviews, searching through Brochu's online history, they couldn't find anything racist. And so it seems like the general idea there is if they couldn't find evidence elsewhere, Brianna calling Roe Jamaican Barbie might not be enough. But that is where this story ends, and I want to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts on this punishment, or rather lack of? Personally, I think the punishment is underwhelming, and yes, part of me goes, well, she's going to have to pay in a lot of different ways, right? She lost the scholarship, she lost the job, the internet is forever. But should we even be considering the social punishment someone's going to receive based on their actions, win, lose, or draw, when we're talking about a legal punishment? I don't know. Even Roe, the victim of this story, she didn't even oppose accelerated rehabilitation, saying by giving her this second chance, I hope she will change her ways and finds love for all mankind no matter what race. So also into your question with how the victim of this situation feels, does that change your mind at all? Then we had Hillary Clinton in the news, seemingly because there are Democrats who don't want Hillary Clinton in the news anymore. If you missed it, on March 3rd, Hillary Clinton made news because she made these comments while in India.
What the map doesn't show you is that I won the places that represent 2/3 of America's gross domestic product. So I won the places that are optimistic, diverse, dynamic, moving forward, and his whole campaign, Make America Great Again, was looking backwards. You know, you didn't like black people getting rights, you don't like women, getting jobs, you don't want to, see that Indian American succeeding more than you are. Whatever your problem is, I'm going to solve it.
And kind of like we've seen with some candidates who are trying to distance themselves in their own ways from Donald Trump, there are Democrats trying to distance themselves from Clinton. Democrat in North Dakota Senator Heidi Heitkamp saying Hillary Clinton can't go away soon enough while speaking with a local radio station. The host, who's her brother, says Clinton needs to ride off into the sunset. Heitkamp responds, not soon enough. Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown telling the Huffington Post, I don't really care what she said, I just think that's not helpful. Senator Claire McCaskill of Missouri saying, oh come on, you're killing me here. Patty Solis Doyle, Clinton's 2008 campaign manager, saying, look, this was bad. I can't sugarcoat it. She was wrong, and clearly it's not helpful to Democrats going into the midterms, and certainly not going into 2020. Adding she's put herself in a position where Democrats are going to have to distance themselves from these remarks and distance themselves from her, particularly those Democrats that are running in the states that Donald Trump won. And very unsurprisingly, now we're seeing Republicans taking the video from this incident and getting it out to people. She's not even running, and she's giving Republicans a deplorables 2.0. The question becomes, how fucking stupid are you that you do not realize that shit-talking voters isn't how you get people to vote your way? And I just don't understand how anyone could be that stupid. I figured that Hillary Clinton would have learned after her deplorables comment. You don't get people to not vote for the other guy and vote for you or people that agree with you by shit-talking them. I won the places that are optimistic, diverse, dynamic, moving forward. I won the places that provide value to this country. And so by making those statements, it sounds like everything else is a shithole. You talk about Donald Trump backwards policies, shit-talk Donald Trump all you want, but do not generalize everyone who voted for him unless you want to just solidify all those people voting for him. And if Hillary Clinton actually wants a future where Donald Trump is not the president, she wants a future where Democrats, they rise. And it's not about being self-serving or her ego. She will walk away. But that's where I'll personally leave it. That's the story, that's my opinion, and that said, I'd still love to know what you're thinking, whether you agree or disagree with me here. And then let's talk about that horrifying bridge collapse in Florida. If you didn't see it, it happened yesterday afternoon at Florida International University. It was a newly installed pedestrian bridge, reportedly one that was meant to be all about student safety. As of filming this video, we know that multiple cars were crushed under the bridge, 6 people have died with more deaths possible. Officials saying that 10 people were transported to the hospital, 2 of which were extricated from under the bridge. Soon after all this happened, the construction company of the bridge, Manila Construction Management, said in a Facebook post, "Our family's thoughts and prayers go to everyone affected by this terrible tragedy. The new University City Bridge, which was under construction, experienced a catastrophic collapse causing injuries and loss of life. MCM is a family business and we are all devastated and doing everything we can to assist. We will conduct a full investigation to determine exactly what went wrong and will cooperate with investigators on scene in every way." There have also been reports that Manila Construction Management and FIGG, another company involved in the construction of this bridge, have had safety issues with other construction projects in the past. In addition to that, we also saw the National Transportation Safety Board announcing that they were dispatching a team to investigate the collapse. And this, of course, also raises questions about the bridge itself. Reportedly, it cost $14.2 million to build and was funded as part of a $19.4 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation. The span was approximately 174 feet long, 950 tons. At the time of the collapse, it was not yet open to the public and parts were still under construction. The bridge's span was also reportedly just installed on March 10th over the course of 6 hours. According to an FIU press release on March 10th, the span was lifted from its temporary supports, rotated 90 degrees across an 8-lane thoroughfare, and lowered into its permanent position. The installation of the bridge was also unique in that it used a machine called a self-propelled modular transporter, or SPMT. An SPMT is a combination of different platforms on axles that are operated by a computer system to lift and carry heavy loads. And that also means this bridge was the largest pedestrian bridge installed by SPMT in U.S. history. As to why the bridge collapsed, there have been some reports that the construction crew was actually conducting a stress test before it collapsed. And according to the university, the bridge was designed to withstand Category 5 hurricanes. Its durability was supposed to exceed 100 years. Also, we saw Senator Marco Rubio tweeting out yesterday, "The cables that suspend the Miami Bridge had loosened and the engineering firm ordered that they be tightened. They were being tightened when it collapsed today." But still, I think it is important that as of recording this video, the exact cause of the collapse has not yet been confirmed. But as of right now, that's all we know, and hopefully the investigation can shed some light on this situation. And I know it's just words, but my thoughts and well wishes to those affected by this. And that's where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I'm trying to do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. That way it makes the videos easier to find when we post these daily weekday videos. Which actually, if you did miss the last Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you need something lighter, you can watch the brand new behind the scenes vlog here. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you to Monday. Nailed it.